Hello YouTube. Ever since I was a kid and I picked up a Game Boy Advance, and then I picked up a PDA, and then I picked up a DS, and then I picked up a PSP, this is what I've been waiting for. Kind of. Real quick, I wanted to talk about why I chose this device and what led me to buying this device. So like I said in the intro, I've been messing with portable systems for, basically my whole life. And my whole life, I've basically just thought one thing: why can't regular consoles be in my hands? And that's essentially what we have here. This is a Windows gaming PC basically, but in your hands. And this thing is extremely versatile. Compared to the competitors at least, like ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, this has full-blown Windows, which the Steam Deck doesn't have. It has the removable controllers with a built-in trackpad and mouse sensor underneath, which the ROG Ally doesn't have. I don't have a laptop, so this is kind of going to be my laptop and gaming system all in one. If I did have a laptop that was powerful enough to do like work style stuff, I would have probably went for the ROG Ally. But because of the fact that I don't have a laptop and I need something to be able to do productivity style stuff, I went with the Lenovo Legion Go. Previously, I was using solutions like this. This is a Black Shark 4 Pro with a EasySMX MX5 or MX10 telescopic controller. It's a really nice combo, but it's Android at the end of the day. And if I wanted to get into some serious stuff like the top of the line processing, I would have had to pay the same that I paid for this device. So yeah, this has been basically completely replaced by the Lenovo Legion Go. There's another thing that I have that I will kind of show off more a little later. For now, I'll just show it. We have another telescopic controller that I was using with my main. I really like the 8.8 inch screen. I think it's really beautiful. I really like the size of the grips, but we'll get into all of that throughout the video. So I guess let's get started. All right, so the first thing we'll talk about is ergonomics. And I did want to take off the comfort grips for this, just because I wanted to go, completely from brand new. As soon as you get your hands on it, the flat front feels so good. It actually feels really, really good. It fits into like the pocket of your palm right here, and it just makes like a perfect fit right there. It gives you really good grip. However, I will say, after a while of you holding this, you will wish that this was more curved and that this corner right here wasn't here, because this corner does dig into your hands, especially when you're like laying in bed and you have it, kind of like that. All the pressure of the device is going to be on these corners of your palm, and that's really going to start to become an issue after a while in terms of comfort, and it's going to make your hands start to cramp up. It's going to really leave some bruising right there, and it's just not going to feel good. So the comfort grips do a little bit to help that, but we'll talk about those later because they're not a perfect solution either. Besides that, the humps here are basically perfect. They fit to my hand perfectly. My hands can hit, all of the buttons. I have perfect reach to hit everything. The trackpad is pretty decent and comfortable to hit. Something on this device that I really, really hate, and I'm not the only one, this is a very common gripe on this device, is what I like to call the stupid buttons. The stupid buttons are going to be this button right here, including a little bit of this, of the top right bumper, because it kind of has the same effect right here on this bottom corner. And also this button right here. Those two and a half buttons are so annoying because when you're playing, depending on the position of your hand and what you're doing in the game, you're not always going to be holding this button down. So it's not like you can just hold it down and that way it doesn't bother you anymore because you're not clicking it in and out. No, as you adjust your hand, you click that button in and out and it really does bother you. It messes with your mind and makes you think that you're doing stuff that you're not actually doing in the game. So yeah, that's really annoying. Luckily, these comfort grips do help a lot with that, but we'll talk about that later. Next thing is the bumpers. The bumpers are kind of a stretch to get to, but it really doesn't bother me because it's so minimal. It's like, this is where you're naturally going to rest, and then you have to kind of do like a little stretch to go there. And then another reason why it doesn't bother me is because right here on the edge, I know I said that I didn't like this, but at least up here, you can kind of hit it with like the middle of your hand, of your finger. So that's really nice. And then on this side, it stops much earlier, which by the way, these are different colors and I kind of hate that. I really wish that these were the same color, either keep them black or keep them both silver. But anyways, I digress. This stops right here. So it makes it a lot easier to hit with your finger, but not accidentally hit with your palm. So yeah, that's a problem over here and not over here, which is good. And like I said, these do a little bit to help that. So another thing is going to be the power button. The power button is kind of like, it is in a really weird spot. A lot of reviewers will say that like they'll hit it while they're trying to remove the controllers. I've adjusted and just gotten to the point where I grab it like this when I'm removing the controllers. But the power button still is a little bit out of the way if you do want to hit it. I wish they would have found kind of a better place to put the power button and the volume buttons. I don't think that they're in a great spot. I feel like you have to kind of shift your whole hand to get it. And you know, maybe that's what they were going for, but I wish it was kind of like, you know, volume buttons down here and then the power button at the bottom or something like that, because having to shift your hand up like that, it gives you like less stability at the bottom. And I don't know, it's kind of unnerving. Besides that, we have the kickstand, which as you can see, it's been open this whole time. I love this kickstand. It's extremely rigid. You only need to use it when you want to use it, and wherever you want to use it, however you want to use it, it will facilitate that. So it goes from a pretty steep angle, like like really steep, not that steep, like really steep, like that, all the way down to that, which is insane. It's like almost laying down at this point. So yeah, that's really good. The scroll wheel right here is in a nice position. If you do want to use it as like a second button, because back here you have this one, which is in a nice spot, but this one kind of sucks for using while you're in gamepad mode. So if you do want a second button back here, you can kind of shift your grip up like this, and then you kind of just, you lose the trackpad totally, but you kind of have like a nice grip up here, nice super comfortable grip up here, and then your thumb is able to hit the scroll wheel. So yeah, that's actually really nice positioning. It doesn't really get in the way of anything. You're never gonna hit it accidentally. When you remember that it's there, it's actually really nice to use. I just forget that it's there because it's in the back and, you know, it's kind of out of the way. So it's in a good spot and I do like where it's placed. It is a bit of a stretch to get to when you're not adjusting your grip for it, but either way, it's really nice and it's good to have. And I just hope that I can remember that it's there over time, because it's such a convenience, and I would hate to just forget that it's not there just because it's not like in my face. All right, let's talk about button layout. ABXY is in a really comfortable position. They feel really nice. The travel is nice. They're not raised up too far. And they're also not sunken into the machine or anything like that. They don't go into the machine as I press, nothing like that. They're actually really comfortable buttons. They're not mechanical or anything. I would compare them to Xbox buttons before they switched over to the mechanical buttons. The distance between them is nice. Yeah, everything about them is pretty much nice. These two buttons up here, which are now start and select, those are really nice buttons as well. I like the shape of them. I didn't notice that right away, but they're like hexagonal shaped. So yeah, those are really nice. In the software, they're by default start and select now. I know when the device first came out, these were start and select, and then these were the Legion buttons, but now these are the Legion buttons. So this one opens Legion space, and this one opens the quick menu. So it is a really nice setup with these 4 buttons right here. The sticks are in a really nice position. Right now, I have a grip on them from Comfort Grips, and this actually does make quite a nice difference. It doesn't change the size at all of the stick, but it does make it so that instead of it just being a slippery texture with like no real grip and only concave, it gives it like a nice rugged edge so that you can get a much better grip on it. So it gives it like a edge to grip on, and then it also gives it texture around the circle. These are really nice. The trackpad is in a nice position. Without the Comfort Grips, it's a little harder to get. You kind of have to take your palm off of the device to be able to use your thumb. But with the Comfort Grips, it's actually really nice. It's in a really good position. You don't even really have to take your hand off of it. You just kind of, just a little bit, and then you have a lot of comfort there. And I think the only reason for that is just because it makes it more bulky. For the D-pad is actually very, very nice. It's probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I know a lot of people talk about it's kind of sunken into the shell. I don't really see that. It's not that bad. Like, it looks really low, but like pressing it, you don't sink it into the shell at all. I think the real issue with these is just how shallow that click is. You see that? It's like I'm clicking it, but you can't even really see it moving. That's the real issue with these D-pads, is that the click is just so shallow that it makes it really hard to roll, and like it makes it hard to really be super accurate when the faintest touch results in a click. The triggers, the analog triggers, they feel really, really nice. The distance of travel is like physically really nice. It is a good bit of travel. I've seen some people complain about how shallow the travel is. I disagree with them. The issue with these is that in the software, it doesn't really recognize the trigger push until you're like here. So basically, instead of having all of this to work with, now you only really have this to work with. And it's like, you kind of have to be really careful not to come all the way up, because then you're like missing time if you want to be like perfectly accurate. It doesn't bother me that much because I don't play any games that really require that much control. I play Forza. That's probably about it, but I'm not great at that anyways, so it doesn't matter to me. I've heard people complain about that. It's not that big of an issue unless you have very specific games that require that much control. Like even something like Super Mario Sunshine on GameCube. That's one of the biggest reasons why I like to get analog triggers on my systems and controllers. And it feels fine. It feels great on Super Mario Sunshine. So no complaints here with the triggers. The volume and power buttons feel good, as long as you can get to them easily. The volume buttons are nice and clicky. And the power button is clicky and gives nice feedback. Now, last and probably least, we have back buttons on the controllers. So these two are absolute trash. The only reason they're here is because of the FPS mode. I wish this was cut off the same way it is on this side, but it's not. These two buttons right here are okay. This one is great. It's just in a regular position where most people like to have their extra buttons. This one is kind of in a weird position where you kind of accidentally hit it with the meat of your finger. So it's not in a great position. I don't like this one right here. But if you have the comfort grip on it, it gets to the point where you can only hit it intentionally. So it does become a usable button. Not a great button, but a usable button. I still don't understand why it's here though, because even in FPS mode, you accidentally hit this button. So why is it here? Like, just put it right here. It makes no sense to have it here. Even in FPS mode, you accidentally hit it when you don't want to. So why have it there? It's so dumb. This one also gets hit accidentally when you're in FPS mode. I think FPS mode is kind of a half-baked design. So, but we'll talk about that a little more later. These two buttons on the other side are basically perfect. I have no complaints about them. How hard they are to hit is okay, even with or without the comfort grips. You never hit them on accident. They're in a really good position. Yeah, no complaints about them at all. All these buttons, by the way, are macroable, including the two on the side. Basically every single button, actually. So even ABXY, except every button except for these four are macroable. The Legion buttons and start and select. They're swappable, but not macroable. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Oh, and also, of course, the volume buttons and the power button are not macroable. Now let's talk about FPS mode. Because FPS mode is a really good idea, but I just don't think they executed on it very well. And I'll go ahead and break down the device while I'm talking here so you guys have an idea of about how long it takes me to get all the way into FPS mode. So basically, you don't actually have to remove the left controller, but you might want to, depending on if you want to use it or not. I will be using a keyboard. And FPS mode is up and running. So this is actually my main keyboard for my main computer, which is actually right there. All I have to do to switch it over to my device is switch it from 2.4 gigahertz to Bluetooth. And now I have a keyboard. So I have this keyboard, and then I also keep a keyboard on me in my backpack, along with a mouse that both use Bluetooth, but they can also both use the same 2.4 gigahertz dongle. In the case for the Lenovo Legion Go, you have this puck, which goes right here, and it does fit perfectly. And then you also have a spot for the thumbstick when you're in FPS mode. I don't like to put it all the way in, not only because I have like this little casing thing on it right now, but also because it makes it a little tough to get out. So what I do is I just kind of drop it right there loosely and then just kind of close it. So now I am in FPS mode. So FPS mode is nice. You know, I can go and play League of Legends or whatever, but the issue is this controller in FPS mode is so uncomfortable. Not only does this piece, like everybody says, stick into the side of your palm as you're grabbing it, it makes no sense. Not only that, but also these two buttons right here are like right where your thumb wants to rest. So you're constantly hitting it on accident. And it gets so annoying that I literally unbound these for FPS mode. And then also the trigger is like, it's kind of comfortable a little bit, but because it's an analog trigger, what are you going to use it for really? Like, it's not super comfortable to use as a bound key unless you're using it for like, I don't know, aim down sight or something, maybe. I don't know. Um, but yeah, these two buttons are very comfortable to hit, but they're like the only good thing about FPS mode. And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. So, what my idea would have been would be to swap this piece physically with the piece on here so that this piece is flat right here on the side of the controller, and then take this mouse sensor and essentially put it right here on the side instead. And then that way you can use it like this. And now you have basically just a mouse with, left click, right click. And then instead of adding this extra button here, you could move this button, this mechanism to this trigger and add like a switch to switch back and forth between analog and digital, which a lot of people would love actually. So you could basically take this button, move it over here, turn it into a switch to switch this from analog to digital, make it feel really nice. And then you could use this as left click, right click. And if it's digital, it would work really well as a right click. And then you have a very natural mouse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra buttons on the side. And at that point, you could even do like a click in trackpad. And then now you have 7. This is another button. So, or you could just like tap as a button. So yeah, I think they really kind of over-engineered this one, or maybe didn't think it through too well, because this piece is super uncomfortable, and the flat corners are really uncomfortable, as well as the stick sticking into your hand is extremely uncomfortable. Also, the buttons being here isn't super nice because you're always hitting them on accident. And the wheel is in a nice position, but the issue is because of everything else, it kind of makes it tedious to use the wheel because like you're rubbing against this right here every time you go to switch between the wheel and regular. So you're like, and then it's like rubbing all on your, yeah, no, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. So yeah, that's FPS mode. Let's talk about the controllers removed without FPS mode. So these controllers do feel really nice, even without being on the device itself. However, they are somewhat light, and because of that and the corners on the device, it kind of makes it feel like it wants to slip out of your hand, even though it doesn't. It makes it feel like it wants to. So like it almost feels loose in your hand, like you want to hold it tighter, but then if you hold it tighter, you start clicking buttons on accident. So it's kind of weird. And then you're definitely not going to be able to reach the scroll wheel as comfortably when it's not on the device and you're not in FPS mode, just because of the natural ergonomics of how you hold your hand. You could do what I said earlier and kind of shift your hand up so that you can access both of these buttons, including the scroll wheel. But then you feel like you have like no stability here at the bottom. And so if you move too quick, it feels like it might fall out of your hand. Not really amazing. I would say it's like a 7 out of 10 maybe, considering the fact that they're not on the device. But as soon as you add the comfort grips, it turns it into like a 9 out of 10. I don't know what it is, but the comfort grips add so much stability when the controllers are off of the device like this. It makes it almost feel like you're just holding a controller. You don't necessarily feel like it's going to fall out of your hand anymore or slip out of your hand. Maybe that's because of the texture on the comfort grips. So yeah, the comfort grips really help when it comes to using the controller off of the device. We also have the option of using these aftermarket 3D printed connectors. So what I did was I got the straight one. I don't like the ones that kind of corner in because your analog sticks don't adjust. So it feels like you're kind of pushing up that way, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it feels super weird, but you know, some people can deal with it. I can't. This feels super comfortable though. This feels like if a regular Xbox is a 9 out of 10, this feels like an 8 out of 10. This feels so good. The issue is really the spacing of the buttons because they feel kind of tight for a regular controller. Like you don't have anything in the middle here. Your D-pad is kind of scrunched up all the way over here. So you kind of go from here and then you want to go like right here, but that's not where your D-pad is. So if you can get used to it and the placing of all the buttons, it does feel like an amazing controller. And another thing about the comfort grips is that they cover up this side button. So they make it so that you don't accidentally hit that button. And also they do the same thing for this bumper because you can see it covers up a good portion of the bumper. So that's actually perfect because that's like right where the meat of my finger stops hitting the button. So it's perfect. So yeah, I can't say enough good things about this middle connector. Even without the comfort grips, this still feels really, really good. If anything, it might even feel better just because it feels more slim and streamlined and it just feels more natural. The only issue is now you start hitting buttons on accident again. So yeah, really cool accessory. All right, let's talk about software. So this device is infamous for its terrible software and driver support. And I can't really give it a different verdict. There are some things that are really nice. So for example, this button brings up Legion Space and you can see it popped up there. Sometimes Legion Space will just pop up out of nowhere while you're in the middle of a game for no reason. And you'll have to click the button again to close it to get back to your game. And that's extremely disruptive. But besides that, it opens into a store that is not really that great. Like, yeah, the prices are okay, but like it's not easy to sort. It's not easy to discover. It's like it's bad. It's not good. If you go to the left, you go into like this page that I don't even know. Maybe there's like some kind of diagnostics that you can do there, and then the screenshots that if you take screenshots using the combination, they get saved into this spot, but I've never used it. So useless for me. If you go to the right, you go to the library, which is nice because it displays all of your stuff in kind of a grid fashion, but you can see all of this crap and you can't delete it from this page. You can't sort, you can't filter, you can't like decide what's a game and what's not a game. You can't like make your own lists so that you can, only have certain types of games or only have launchers in one list and then games in another or emulators in a list. You can't do any of that. It's so bad. It's so bad. Lenovo, I'm so disappointed in you. As somebody who actually used to work for Lenovo, this is so bad. Anyways, adding a game is decently easy, but it's basically useless because you're never going to use this software to launch your games. Next, you have settings, and this tab and the next tab, controllers, are basically going to be the saving grace of this app because these are pretty decent. You can update a lot of your drivers using this button right here, this disks and drivers. You can go straight to your Windows updates from here. It has gotten a lot better when it comes to keeping your device up to date and all the hoops that you have to jump through to get there. However, it's still not perfect. There's still a lot of functionality missing. There's still a lot of things that I wish I could do that I can't. I guess I'll talk about that more in the review, the full review, but it's okay at best. Here in controllers, you can do a lot of button map. Jesus Christ. Here in controllers, you can do a lot of button mapping and stuff like that. You can change the lights and how they work. One thing I forgot to mention about the controllers when they're not on the device is that when they're connected to a controller connector like this, you can see that you can totally cover up the LEDs for both sticks at the same time in your point of view. And then if you move around, it kind of flashes with LED. And that does get super distracting depending on how you play and how much your hands move as you play. That gets super distracting because it almost looks like your controllers are dying or something because you see flashing blue lights. When it's on the device itself, it's not really a problem because the controllers are so far apart that it's impossible to cover up both LEDs at the same time. Basically, you get like this kind of effect. So it's basically impossible to cover up both LEDs at the same time. So you don't get that effect. But when you have them like this and they're connected and they're solid, you really do have to worry about that. So what I do is I just go into the quick settings and I go to controllers and I turn off the lighting effects, and that turns off all the lighting. So here in controllers, you can basically change your gamepad mapping. You can switch profiles. You can make profiles with different maps, which is really nice. You can basically bind almost every button on the controllers themselves, which is also really nice. And you can also have separate profiles for your FPS mode and your gamepad modes, which is also really nice. So pretty good job here with the controller stuff. The only other thing that I wish you could do is that you could bind like these 4 buttons to be something else if you don't want to use them as like the Legion space button or the start select buttons. If you want to use them as something else, you should be able to. I don't see why they don't allow you to. Also in software, we have our quick menu. This is actually a really, really good quick menu. It gives you almost every control that you could think of needing. Fan speed, TDP, different profiles, FPS limiter, resolution on the fly. You can do it mid-game if you want. Display refresh rate, only 2 choices, which sucks, but yeah. You have your frame monitoring. You got different kind of variations of that, so you can see all of your different diagnostic information. I usually just use simple. I have gone like 3 days where the frame monitor just won't work for some reason. My games are fine. They're all on full screen and everything, but they just won't work for some reason. So yeah, that's been a bit of a concern. But besides that, since those 3 days, it hasn't been a problem. So I don't really have many complaints. Radeon Super Resolution. It's good to have access to this on the fly because you do want to control this. You don't want to be using scaling in the game settings and also here because that can cause some extra lag. So you want to have quick control of this. Then you have some quick controller settings. You can choose between your profiles and stuff like that, your lighting, your controller vibration. You can enable your touchpad vibration here, which you actually cannot do in Legion Space, which is super weird. But yeah, I highly recommend you go in and turn that on as soon as you get your device because it makes a massive difference on how the trackpad feels. Controller hibernation time is controlled here. Yeah, basically everything is here. A bunch of quick settings. This stuff can be really useful. Stuff like Alt F4, Control Alt Delete, Xbox button, stuff like that. I will say though, a lot of the shortcuts that you need can be accessed with key shortcuts, and I'll show you that real quick. As soon as I show you productivity mode, so this is basically if you're gonna dock it, you kind of want to check this, and that should cause you less issues. So the key shortcuts, to look at the list of shortcuts, you go left button right here and left bumper, and that gives you the list of shortcuts. My two favorite shortcuts are going to be left button and right stick to bring up Steam. And then you can click it again to go into Steam Big Picture mode. Or you have left button and B to bring up your keyboard. And I went into the settings and I switched it to a full size keyboard. That way you could hit FN F11 for full screen in most emulators. And then you could also hit Alt Enter for full screen in most non-emulator games. So yeah, besides those things, the only thing to know about the software is just that it's Windows. So everything that you can do on a Windows, you can do on this and a little bit more. There is some bloatware on here, so if you want to get rid of that, there are programs to do that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's just Windows. So if you're comfortable with Windows and you know how to use Windows, or you're willing to learn how to really, get in there and use Windows, then this is going to be the perfect device for you. All right, let's talk about sound. I'm not going to do a sound test for you guys because there's a million channels out there that do sound tests and stuff like that. The sound out the box, like everybody says, is absolute trash. If you go into the mixer and you adjust some settings, and what I would say is go to the Retro Game Core video, and he kind of goes through a guide of how to do that, how to change the sound so that it's better for you. I'll leave that link down below, as well as the timestamp on where to find the sound part of that. But yeah, he goes into detail on how to improve the sound on this, and I just basically followed what he did, and the sound is much, much, much better. The issue is not that the speakers are bad, the issue is that the software is bad. So yeah, keep that in mind. Sound can be improved. All right, last thing I want to talk about is what accessories I ended up getting with this device. I've only had this device for about 2 weeks now, so I've barely really used it for anything besides like testing and setting up, and I've played some games here and there, maybe 30 minutes here, 45 minutes there, mainly Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, just because that's the game that I'm trying to beat right now. But any other gameplay that I've done has really just been to test. So I haven't really gotten through this device and used it the way that I'll be using it moving forward yet. So I don't have a full review for you guys yet. Right now, this is just kind of first impressions, what I think about the device right now. I'm sure some of my opinions will change in the future. I will be doing some more mods. I'll be changing the faceplates on this controller, so that it's kind of sunken in right here and more comfortable that way, because I don't really like the bulk that these add. Besides that, let me talk about some other accessories that I bought with this. You've already seen the comfort grips and the controller connector. You have also already seen the keyboard that I use with my main computer that also connects to my Lenovo Legion Go. A telescopic USB-C/Bluetooth controller. What do I mean by that? This is a USB-C telescopic controller. I mainly use this with my phone the same way that I would use this, but this is actually a secondary phone. I have a main phone for this one, which is like my phone that I use for calling and everything. It's a Samsung. It's more powerful than that one. That's why I use it with this one. But this controller actually has Bluetooth. So that means if you can supply power, it can be used as a Bluetooth device. So, as you can see, I literally just connected the battery, and now I can use it to play games. So what I've done is I've set up so that in every system, every emulator, every game, these controllers are player 1, and then this controller is player 2, and I always carry this controller with me. It has the ability to control power on and off. So I always keep this controller with me because it's the one for my phone. So it acts as double duty. It acts as a Bluetooth controller, and it also acts as a telescopic controller for my phone. And that way I always have 2 players. Next accessory is going to be some headphones. I know that looks like Rolls Royce. It is not Rolls Royce. This is a cheap Chinese company that makes some earbuds. I saw them. I thought they looked cool. I decided to pick them up. They feel essentially just like iPod earbuds, except the iPod earbuds don't have the gel, so they don't stay in as well. So these basically just feel like iPod earbuds that stay in. I'm not a big fan of iPod earbuds because they kind of jam into my ear a little bit, and these kind of do the same thing. So I'm not a big fan of these, but you know, I'm only out $30 and they do sound really good. They also have 2.4 gigahertz connection right in the same container. So it's really nice, really functional. And even though it's not perfectly comfortable, I'm not going to be wearing these for 6 hours at a time, so it shouldn't really matter. Next, I have a USB-C dock, essentially. It has SD card reader. It has 5 USB ports, 3 of them USB 3.0. This is a pass-through charging port, so this does support full 65 watt. I haven't tested it with anything higher, but I do know that it supports the charger that comes with the Lenovo Legion Go. It also has HDMI, so anytime I need to or want to connect this to a TV or something like that, I can literally just connect this either at the bottom or top and connect an HDMI, and boom, we have video. I also have a portable keyboard and mouse combo that I keep with me. This isn't the slimmest keyboard, but it's the one that I have access to right now. It's not the slimmest keyboard. It has like this part right here that jets out, but it's battery powered, so that's probably why. It is Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz. So if I turn it on, it does work to control my device. And the mouse also does work. And in the keyboard, I have, just in case I need faster connection, or for some reason Bluetooth isn't working very well for me, I have the 2.4 gigahertz dongle. All right, the last accessory for this device that travels with me is going to be just this power brick. I do have the cables for it that I need for it. I do have the charger that I need for it. This is 20,000 milliamp hours. It charges this thing about once to 1.5 times. It's not amazing, but it is 100 watt, which the Lenovo does accept. So it does charge it fast enough to keep up with the gaming. Even though the Lenovo actually throttles charging while gaming. So you only get 60 watts while gaming. But I still like having the 100 watt because it charges the device much faster. And basically charges it the max speed that it can get. It's pretty thick, so you know, it is a big boy, but it has everything I need and it wasn't super expensive. All right, and the last accessory that I have for this device is just going to be something that I actually already had for my PC. It's going to be this adapter for Xbox controllers. I keep this in my living room along with another one of these connected to the TV in there. So anytime I want to go and play some video games, I literally just connect it to the Lenovo Legion Go, and I have a gaming system in my living room. These connect to this, and typically these will be player 3 and 4. So if I ever have a couch gaming session with, you know, a bunch of people and everybody wants to play at the same time, we have 4 controllers at all times. And if I ever want to go out and I know that I'm going to be seeing people that like to game, I can bring these and know that I have 4 controllers because I have these 2 on the device. I have the Bluetooth telescopic controller, and then I have these 2 controllers. So yeah, I'm always ready to game, always ready to kick somebody's butt in Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros. Or boxing, Black Ops Zombies, whatever you want to do, we got it. All right, so that was my first impressions of the Lenovo Legion Go. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything, if I said anything that was wrong, if you guys disagree with anything, if you guys agree with everything. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything you want to know that I might know. I'll be happy to answer those questions. Leave them in the comments down below. And for now, I'm out. Peace.